Now, local musicians keep on representing South Africa on the global stage. Thapelo Lekoane has been nominated for Best Duo or Group in African Jazz at the African Muzik Magazine Awards. The former contestant on The Voice South Africa is nominated alongside legendary Jimmy Dludlu, Somi and Ethiopia's Jano Band. Thapelo joins me now in studio to speak about this experience and really just the recognition and appreciation for African music across the world. First, tell me about how you're feeling and the acknowledgement of the work that you do.
So I feel quite excited and honored also to be nominated at a continental level. This being my very first project, it's amazing. I really am surprised, but also quite excited about it.
Tell us about the project and the kind of thought process, the writing, everything that would go into putting a body of work like this together and making sure that it not only speaks to yourself as an artist, but also is relatable to whatever audience you're hoping to reach.
So my process in writing the project or putting the music together, I worked with an amazing music producer, Llewellyn George, and in our writing process, it really was about writing music that would speak to people. I use a process of just observing human behavior and actually looking into myself, my personal experiences, and that's what informed how the music came together, how the songs came together. And the beautiful thing is that it happened over the COVID period, the recording process, and so musicians were available to really invest themselves into this project. So I'm very, very grateful for that.
One thing that I have found, and when I kind of engage the work that you've done, is that a lot of messages are communicated through a body of work or art. How important is that for you and the music that you put out in addressing different social issues that may occur in society currently, or is it more about your personal experiences? I guess what I'm asking here is that are you using it as a platform to address issues alongside your personal experiences, or is it anything different?
Sure, it is a process of really just wanting to speak to what's happening in and around us. The themes that I explored are of heritage, of hope, of faith, and those are things that people want to hear about all the time, you know, because life is life, and it can get challenging, there are ups and downs, but when you have a song that can speak specifically to your experience, and it doesn't matter who you are, then that's an opportunity to really inspire people. So that's where I was coming from in writing these songs.
How have you found the music landscape in South Africa? And I want to say since the advent of the pandemic, but perhaps you can reflect on the period before. Have you found that there are resources and the skills and the talent that still exists and is still growing and is being afforded the platform to be nurtured and introduced to different markets, not just in South Africa, but also across the continent?
I think that our country is rich with talent and rich with abilities. Our country is full of people who are, I think over the COVID period, we saw a lot of talent coming through because people could really introspect and get into their creative corners and create beautiful things. And so I think that it is like that for our country, and it is also like that for like the global space, because even like independent artists could release their own music. And I think there's like a stat of like over 1 million songs being released every day. Please don't quote me on this one, but it's like the numbers are high. So it goes to show that there's a lot of talent out there, and there's growth. And it's beautiful to see, because then the internet has allowed us to connect with music from everywhere. You know, so.
And I'm wondering, as you give that answer, if that is how you have found inspiration, not just with this project, but previously, in that you could see other jazz artists, not only from home, but all around the world, and draw on those inspirations to create what has now been nominated.
Definitely. I mean, I look at artists like Liz Wright, who's one of my favorite artists. I look at some of our local artists, Manana, Zoe Modiga, Spa, Zasha. You know, there's so many people who are locally here and abroad that I could look to and say, you know what, these people are making it, they're doing it, and I can do it as well. You know, I can dream bigger than than what I have before, you know, and that informs my journey. It's just look what's around you, what's available, and not limit yourself to what you think you have, but people are our resources as well, you know, and that can push us further than where we can go as an individual.
Yeah, and I mean, you've been in the industry for a while and exposed to different levels of success, if you will. And I'm just thinking, in your journey, did you ever question why it was jazz that you thought was the way in which you could best portray your artistry and your message as opposed to other genres of music?
I think, if anything, like music, my music like touches on a bit of jazz, but it also has that folk element, that soul element. And I thought that, you know, music is constantly evolving. And whatever I put out there, people will receive as they do. But I really just wanted to create music that would help people heal, you know, and stylistically that kind of suited the message, you know, and also it comes naturally for me. So it's almost like a perfect merge. It's like there's a synergy there. But yeah, that's the reason. That's the reason why it was really just, I guess, jazz, if you will. Yeah.
I mean, there are nominations. You've had them previously. You've got one now. And I suppose everybody is then looking on to say, what's next? What are you going to be working on? Is there anything that you're going to be working on? And really some of the important things that you think you're going to focus on in the short to the medium term.
I would really love to tour. That's something that I am working on and I'm looking at. I'd love to do a tour in our country. I'd love to perform abroad. And that's something I'm definitely like putting my attention into. So I would say that people should just kind of look out for whatever I'll put out there on social media and so forth, to see what's...
Anything holding you back? In that you can't get into a tour bus tomorrow and travel to Durban or Cape
It's
Town?
really just the organizing, you know, the planning process and making sure that things happen properly. That's what it is, because planning an event is really, there's a lot that goes into it, but I want my audience to have the best experience, you know, the best that I can give them, and so I want to do it properly,
Right, and so with that, where can people access your music and your latest body of work?
All right, so my music is available on Spotify, on Apple Music, on YouTube. I would encourage people to go and buy it and listen to it or stream it. The album title is Tapestry, and it's available. People can also follow me on social media at Thapelo_Lekoane on Instagram and Thapelo Lekoane Music on Facebook.